I was genuinely surprised that The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening was going to be receiving the remake treatment on a Nintendo Switch. This generation we've had quite a lot of remakes from Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, we've had remakes of all sorts of games, so the fact that one of the oldest Legend of Zelda games that first got released on Game Boy in 1993 is getting this treatment was a real delight for me. This is technically the third version of this game because we had the original, which was like in black and white or green if you're one of those people, and then we had a colour version of this game which was released on the Game Boy Color in the late 90s, just around the time of when Ocarina of Time got released, and now we have this version, the 2019 release, which is for Nintendo Switch. And my god, look at Link. If that's not the definition of cute, then I don't know what is. Right off the bat, I can tell you that this is one of the most beautiful looking games on Nintendo Switch. It looks totally different to the other main Zelda game, which is Breath of the Wild on this system, and oh my god, it just looks so good. And I can easily say now that Link's Awakening is one of my favourite Zelda games. I mean, it was before, but now it is like right up there.
For a Zelda game, the story is very simplistic. For whatever reason, Link is sailing on the boat, but after a thunderstorm, he becomes shipwrecked on an island. There, he is found by Marin. She takes him to her place so he can recover, and from then on, he gets up and then he starts helping out the townspeople. He then goes to dungeons to defeat monsters before uncovering the secret of the egg at the top of the mountain, which contains the legendary Windfish. It was one of the most unique storylines in this series. There's no Hyrule, no Triforce, no Zelda, no Ganon. It's just Link doing his own thing on this island.
So if you can tell, this game is a lot different to your typical Zelda game, much like how Majora's Mask is, and I like different.
When you look at the gameplay of this one and compare it to the original versions of Link's Awakening and other top-down Zelda games, then you'll notice that on the surface there's nothing too new here. Obviously the control scheme is much better on the Nintendo Switch version, as there's more buttons to select your items to on the new version, and when you look at the Game Boy there's hardly anything on that, so that's a huge plus. You can tell that this is meant to be the same game as the original. Changes have been done from the ground up, and the whole world sort of feels like it's made from clay, and I cannot stress enough how much I love this design choice for the remake. It breathes new life into a very old game, which I loved before anyway. One change which I love the most is that now everything sort of feels like it's all on one screen, and the overworld feels like a proper overworld. On the Game Boy version, because of hardware limitations of the time, the camera did not move along with you everywhere. The new version makes life a whole lot easier, especially when you go to places like that forest, which is designed to be like a maze. It was a nightmare to navigate through this on the Game Boy, but still fun at the same time. Obviously, all the other weird elements, such as Super Mario characters, return in this too. We have Goombas, Chain Chomps, Cheep Cheeps, and even fucking Kirby makes an appearance here. Link can collect power-ups as well, which makes him move faster and make his sword more powerful for a limited time. Something which feels like it belongs in a Mario game, but oddly enough, it really works for Link's Awakening. This game is odd, and I love it for that. The music has been redone to give this a more modern feel as well, and all I can say is I love this soundtrack, and it is one of my favourite ones to come out from the last year. Everything just feels perfect to me. The overworld, the dungeons design, the enemies, the fucking minigames. Just look at this. Look at this. How satisfying is it to win prizes like this? You have memorable characters, areas to explore, side quests to do. I can go on. It took me roughly 25 hours to 100% this game. Not too long for a Zelda game these days. But remember, this was originally a Game Boy game in the early 90s, so of course I will let this slide for this. If there's one factor which I will say I don't really care about for this, then it's the new dungeon maker. For this, Dampe the Gravekeeper gives you dungeon parts and asks you to make your own dungeons, and I was really excited when I first learned about this. I love Mario Maker too, so Zelda Maker, yeah, no brainer. But I ended up going away feeling a bit disappointed. It wasn't what I expected it to be, and it eventually started feeling like a chore, and I got bored after half an hour or so of doing this. But is this an essential part of the game? No. Do you need to do this in order to 100% the game? Yes. The Dungeon Maker is only an optional part of the game, but kudos to Nintendo for adding this in. It's the closest we have got to getting an all-new dungeon for this remake, because as far as everything else goes in terms of where everything is on the world map, everything is exactly the same. But that's all good with me, because Link's Awakening easily has one of the best overworlds of any Zelda game. This remake goes down as one I think has been done right. Everything looks crisp and better, especially with that clay look, but this is still the same game at heart as the 1993 original. This is one which I am certain I will be going back to again and again for many years to come. Highly recommended, but what do you expect? I love Zelda,